My name is Richard Anson. I'm founder and CEO of a business called Review.com. Review is a shopping advisory web business that takes the power of customer reviews, so user-generated reviews, and turns that into advice to help people purchase electrical products. A good friend of mine founded a business called Active Hotels, which is an online hotel booking engine. And they were an early innovator in the customer review space. And what they saw was there was an increase in booking rates for the hotels. I'd been a strategy consultant in the technology space, so I'd spent a lot of time working with businesses like Vodafone, like Orange, like BT. And before that I did an MBA at a place called Cranfield School of Management. I did a full-time MBA there. So I'd really spent the last 5 years very much in technology and media. I did a degree in geology originally, and when I finished geology, I thought I wanted to go into business. So at that point, I actually became an engineer, and it was then I did a period of research. So I did research, and I did a PhD in engineering geology, and then went and worked as an engineering consultant for about 5 years before going off to do an MBA. For A-level, I did physics, maths, chemistry, and statistics, and I actually wanted to do biology instead of physics, and was kind of recommended by, I don't know, somebody at the time, a teacher, that I should do physics because it would keep more options open. And I think if I had had my choice again, I would have done biology instead of physics. And so it was very science, very logical, very logical based. And then at the end of finishing school, I was looking for, want to continue in sciences, but didn't want to do a pure science. And actually, at the time, it turned out that our next door neighbour was in oil, and he was relatively senior in the commercial side of oil. I had a long chat with him, and then I started to explore geology, which is something I hadn't done at school, and then chose to do geology as a degree. Neither of my parents went to university. My father started work when he was 18 and stayed with the same firm for 30 years. It was probably a foregone conclusion in my mind that I was going to go, but there was no parental pressure or no family pressure. I think they had quite low expectations academically, really. He was in sort of shipping, buying services, import-export business, mostly abroad in the Far East. I was born in Hong Kong, and then they spent time moving between Hong Kong and Tokyo, so I spent quite a lot of time out there. Being at school, no, I look back on it with pretty fond memories, actually. You know, a good mix of sport and study and fun and play, yeah. I took a year off after school, and I spent 6 months learning Japanese and teaching English in Japan, but I can't remember much of it. So I have more of a science than, I'd love to have been a linguist. So I've had periods unemployed, etc., when I've decided to make a change, and it then takes time for you to find the next role. So when I finished sort of the PhD to get a job in engineering consulting, having a PhD didn't open many doors. It was more, I wrote countless letters off to firms to say, will you employ me? And they'd say, well, you've got no experience. So I had to bang on a lot of doors, and that was, some time ago now. I now have to consider what's the next stage of growth for the business. How do we take it from where we are now, where we look after about 90 retailers and manufacturers, so some very big names like Sony's of the world, Dixon's and Curry's and Orange, a number of them across Europe, and where do we take it next?